Close your eyes and imagine a world that no longer exists, yet breathes through the static of old film reels. We often look at the past as a distant country, a place we can visit but never truly inhabit. But what if the city itself is a living organism, a witness to every footstep, every heartbeat, and every fleeting glance? Today, we are not just looking at pictures, we are excavating the soul of a titan. This video was meticulously crafted using the power of artificial intelligence to breathe new life into the ghosts of history. Before we begin our journey through the concrete canyons of memory, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and join our community of seekers. The mid-century New York street is more than a location, it is a psychological threshold. As the light turns red, a collective pause falls over the masses, a momentary truce in the war of motion. Engines idle with a low mechanical growl, and the air is thick with the smell of gasoline and ambition. Pedestrians stand on the brink of the curb, their eyes fixed on a future that was, for them, still unwritten. At these intersections, the pulse of the city is most palpable, as if the entire world is holding its breath before the next green light. In the year 1950, New York was the undisputed capital of the world's imagination. The war was over, the economy was surging, and the city's infrastructure was expanding under the iron will of figures like Robert Moses. Everywhere you looked, the skyline was a jagged testament to human ego and architectural brilliance. The streets were stages, and every citizen was an unwitting actor in a grand, urban drama. This was a time when the noise of the city was not yet a nuisance, but a symphony of progress. Moving toward the heart of the spectacle, we find the neon glow of the theater district. Outside Radio City Music Hall and the vibrant chaos of Times Square, the marquees dominate the heavens. These lights were not merely signs, they were the burning embers of the American dream. Movie titles glowed with a promise of escape, drawing crowds from the shadows into the warmth of the silver screen. In this era, cinema and the city fed each other's glamour, creating a feedback loop of style and desire. Radio City Music Hall, which opened its doors in 1932, stood as a cathedral of the people. By the mid-century, it had become a symbol of Art Deco sophistication and mass entertainment. The crowds that spilled onto the sidewalks were dressed in their Sunday best, even on a Tuesday night. Men in fedoras and women in tailored coats lined the curbs, their faces illuminated by the electric hum of the city. The automobiles of the era, with their chrome grills and sweeping lines, looked like sculptures in motion.
Good evening, Charles.
Hello, darling.
To understand New York, one must leave the bright lights and drift into the neighborhoods where the city's heart truly beats. In the Lower East Side and Little Italy, the scale of life becomes intimate and deeply human. Orchard Street serves as a bustling artery of trade, where family shops spill their wares onto the pavement. Here, the air smells of roasted coffee, fresh bread, and the sweat of honest labor. Children play in the shadows of fire escapes, their laughter echoing against the red brick tenements.
Best prices.
This was the working New York, a place where the economy was measured in nickels and dimes, not just stock tickers. Coca-Cola signs, painted directly onto the sides of buildings, offered a familiar comfort in a rapidly changing world. These neighborhoods were the primary arrival points for generations of immigrants seeking a foothold in the new world. In Little Italy, the cafe fronts were social hubs where the old world met the new over small cups of espresso. Life here was crowded, often difficult, but it possessed a texture and a warmth that the glass towers could never replicate. As we ascend toward Midtown, the atmosphere shifts from the intimate to the monumental. Fifth Avenue stretches out like a velvet ribbon, lined with the pillars of commerce and the temples of high fashion. The Gotham Hotel and the towering presence of Rockefeller Plaza define the city's polished face. Here, the city is orderly, ambitious, and utterly confident in its post-war identity. The flags of nations ripple above the statue of Prometheus, signaling New York's role as the global center of diplomacy and finance. Rockefeller Center, completed in 1939, represented the pinnacle of urban planning and corporate vision. It was a city within a city, a feat of engineering that symbolized the triumph of capitalism over the Great Depression. The plaza was a place of ritual, where office workers and tourists alike gathered to witness the grandeur of the skyline. In the mid-century, Midtown was a statement of power, a declaration that New York was the center of the universe. Every stone and every pane of glass was polished to a shine, reflecting the sun and the spirit of a nation. Life in the city is not just defined by its grand gestures, but by its small daily rituals. Taxi drivers, the nomadic philosophers of the asphalt, pause at cafeterias for a moment of quiet reflection. In the basement garages of Italian neighborhoods, mechanics polish shining Chevrolets with a devotion usually reserved for religious icons. These are the pauses that sustain the city's relentless movement. A brick archway frames the heavy traffic heading toward the Holland Tunnel, a gateway to the rest of the continent. The Holland Tunnel, which began operation in 1927, was a marvel of ventilation and engineering. By the 1950s, it was a vital link in the country's economic chain, moving goods and people in an endless flow. Yet beneath the infrastructure, there was a sense of individual purpose in every driver and every worker. The cafeteria was a democratic space where the billionaire and the laborer might share the same counter. In these moments of stillness, the city's barriers of class and wealth seemed to thin, if only for the duration of a cup of coffee. When the sun sets, Times Square undergoes a metamorphosis, turning into a kingdom of pure spectacle. Rain slicks the pavement, creating a mirror world where the neon reflections multiply and dance. Brands like Pepsi, Camel, and Budweiser tower over the crowds, their logos burning into the collective consciousness. The Camel sign, famous for blowing actual rings of steam, was a landmark of consumerist theater. This was the era of the Great White Way, where the night was banished by the brilliance of electricity. The Paramount and Palace theaters stood as sentinels of culture, their marquees glowing with the names of icons. In the 1950s, Times Square was the crossroads of the world, a place where the highbrow and the lowbrow collided. It was a sensory overload of sound, light, and motion that could be felt in the marrow of one's bones. The crowds were a mosaic of humanity, drawn to the light like moths, seeking a glimpse of the extraordinary. Even in the rain, the city felt invincible, a neon fortress standing against the darkness of the night.
The pressure release valve just blew. We're losing containment.
In stark contrast to the neon chaos, Greenwich Village offers a different kind of sanctuary. Here, the streets are narrower, the pace is slower, and the architecture is more weathered and lived in. Alleys and quiet corners provide a space where the city seems to exhale, trading spectacle for texture. Woody wagons are parked along the curbs, and the sound of a jazz saxophone might drift from a basement window. This was the bohemian heart of New York, a refuge for artists, writers, and those who marched to a different beat. The Village was a place of intellectual ferment and social experimentation during the mid-century years. It was the birthplace of the Beat generation and the nursery for the folk music revival of the early 1960s. In these quiet streets, the pressure of the corporate world felt a million miles away. People gathered in Washington Square Park to debate politics, poetry, and the meaning of existence. It was a neighborhood that valued the individual over the institution, a place where the soul could breathe. New York is a city of water, defined by the rivers that cradle its ambition. Views of the Hudson and East River reveal a horizon of steel and steam, where ferries are packed with commuters. The Woolworth Building, once the tallest in the world, and the Singer Tower rise above the mist like monuments to a bygone era. These structures were the cathedrals of commerce, designed to inspire awe and signify permanence. New York is framed here as both a magnificent machine and a timeless monument.
Hey, it's me.
The economy of New York was inextricably linked to its status as a premier deep-water port. In the mid-century, the waterfront was a forest of masts and funnels, a place of immense physical labor and global trade. The skyline was constantly evolving, with new towers rising to challenge the old. The Woolworth Building, completed in 1913, remained a symbol of the city's early 20th century optimism. From the deck of a ferry, the city appeared as a monolithic entity, a fortress of human achievement rising from the gray Atlantic waves. The city is a master of transformation, cycling endlessly through the theater of the seasons. In winter, snow buries the cars and muffles the roar of the engines, turning the streets into a monochrome landscape. Neon signs cut through the winter darkness with a sharp, cold brilliance, casting long shadows on the drifts. But then, summer returns, and the city opens up like a flower in the sun. Street vendors appear on every corner, floral chairs are brought out onto sidewalks, and the air is filled with sunlit smiles.
Almost there.
These seasonal shifts are more than just changes in weather, they are changes in the city's temperament. Winter brings a sense of isolation and melancholy, a time when the city feels vast and indifferent. Summer brings a sense of communal joy as the boundaries between private and public space dissolve. People flock to Coney Island or Central Park, seeking relief from the heat and a connection to the natural world. The city survives the cold and thrives in the heat, a testament to the resilience of its inhabitants. Amidst the grand narrative of the metropolis, home movies offer a glimpse into the personal dimensions of history. We see parents in wool sweaters, children laughing in sun-drenched parks, and friends sharing wine at small kitchen tables. These moments, frozen in the warm, saturated colors of Kodachrome, are the anchors of memory. They remind us that the city is not just made of steel and stone, but of people and their shared experiences. These personal histories are the quiet threads that hold the vast tapestry of New York together. Kodachrome film, introduced by Kodak in 1935, revolutionized the way we remember our lives. It captured the vibrancy of the mid-century world with a richness that digital sensors still struggle to replicate. These home movies are time capsules of ordinary joy, capturing a world that was simpler, yet no less profound. In the laughter of a child or the smile of a grandmother, we see the true purpose of the city. It is a place to build a life, to raise a family, and to leave a mark on the world, however small. As the 1960s arrive, the tone of the city begins to shift with the energy of a new generation. Miniskirts and sharp suits replace the formal attire of the previous decade, and the air is electric with expectation. Subway graffiti begins to appear, a colorful rebellion against the order of the underground. Young faces are full of a new kind of confidence, one that challenges the traditions of the past. New York is reinventing itself once again, carrying its history forward while embracing the chaos of change. The early 1960s were a period of immense social and cultural upheaval. The civil rights movement, the space race, and the birth of rock and roll were all reflected in the streets of New York. The city became a laboratory for new ideas and new ways of living. The transition was not always easy, but it was inevitable. The old world of fedoras and floor-length coats was giving way to a more fluid, more vibrant reality. New York was no longer just a monument to the past, it was a forge for the future. Transit is the lifeblood of the city, a constant state of departure and arrival. Magnificent ocean liners like the Queen Elizabeth dock and depart, their whistles echoing through the canyons of Manhattan. Subway platforms crowd and empty in a rhythmic tide, moving millions of souls through the subterranean dark. Passengers stand on the decks of ships, suspended between the hope of a new beginning and the farewell to a familiar shore. The city watches them go, a silent witness to the endless flow of human ambition. In the mid-century, travel by sea was still a grand and romantic affair. The arrival of a great liner was an event that stopped traffic and drew crowds to the piers. These ships were the primary link between the old world of Europe and the new world of America. At the same time, the subway system was the great equalizer, a place where the entire city met in the pursuit of movement. Whether on a luxury deck or a crowded train car, the people of New York were always on their way somewhere else. The city was a transit point, a crossroads where destinies were decided in the space between arrival and departure. Entertainment in New York is more than just a pastime. It is a memory palace of light and sound. Golden marquees advertise films, concerts, and the dreams of a generation. Names like Sammy Davis Jr. glow in the night, promising a world of talent and glamour. Hollywood westerns and Broadway plays off a window into other lives and other times. Times Square and Broadway are the epicenters of this cultural gravity, drawing the world's attention to the stage of the metropolis. The entertainment industry was a major driver of the New York economy and its global influence. Broadway was the ultimate proving ground for performers, a place where a single night could change a person's life forever. The theaters themselves were architectural wonders designed to transport the audience to another world. In the mid-century, the stars of the screen and stage were the royalty of the city. Their lives were the subject of endless fascination, and their performances were the soundtrack to the era. This was a time when the city believed in the power of the spectacle to heal, to inspire, and to unite. In Harlem, the rhythm of neighborhood life endures with a dignity and vitality all its own. Small parades march down the streets, and fire trucks navigate through the bustling crowds of everyday shoppers. Mothers and children move through the traffic with a practiced ease, as if the street were just another room in their home. This is a community that continues its life without the need for performance or spectacle. It is a place of resilience, culture, and deep-rooted history, where the past is always present in the stride of the people. The Harlem of the mid-century was a vibrant center of black culture and political consciousness. Despite the challenges of systemic inequality, the neighborhood was a beacon of creativity and strength. The streets were filled with the sounds of jazz, the words of poets, and the conversations of activists. It was a place where the pulse of the city felt most urgent and most alive. In Harlem, the ordinary acts of shopping, walking, and gathering were transformed into a powerful statement of community and endurance. As our journey nears its end, the images begin to slow and the neon begins to dim. Snow falls once again, covering the city in a shroud of white silence. The crowds thin, and the vibrant colors of the past begin to recede into the gray of memory. What remains is not the city itself, but the feeling of it, the ghost of a moment caught in time. The streets, the faces, and the grand ambitions all dissolve into the relentless flow of years. New York remains, but the version we have witnessed is gone, living only in the light of the projector.
Morning.
Night.
Night. Night.
History is not a static record, it is a living conversation between the past and the present. The mid-century New York we have explored was a world of immense confidence and hidden vulnerabilities. It was a time of transition, a bridge between the industrial age and the digital era. By looking back, we can see the foundations of our own world, the echoes of the choices made by those who came before us. The city is a palimpsest, a surface that is written and rewritten, but never truly erased. The lesson we draw from these flickering images is one of transience and the value of the present moment. We often spend our lives waiting for the next big thing, the next green light, the next arrival. But the true essence of life is found in the pauses, the cup of coffee, the walk through a quiet alley, the laughter of a child. New York teaches us that while the monuments may fall and the neon may fade, the human spirit remains constant. We must learn to cherish the texture of our own time, for it too will one day be a ghost of the past.
Every ending is a beginning, a step.
Thank you for
from the
joining
echoes
me
of
on this
history
cinematic
into the
excavation
vibrant
of mid-century
noise
New
of
York.
what is next.
It has been a privilege to share these moments of history and philosophy with you. If this journey has moved you, please consider subscribing to the channel to explore more stories of the human experience. If you could visit any corner of New York in 1955, where would you go first, and what would you hope to find?
The
Until
journey was
next
long,
time,
but
keep
the
seeking
promise
the
of a
light
new
in the
life
shadows
drew
of the
millions
past.
across the ocean.
Your papers, please. Where are you going?
Next